Hi again. I'm Liat. You already know me. And today I decided to dedicate a short lesson about channeling. And I think I mentioned it in one of the other classes that we have. And I think it's worth dedicating the time to talk and explain how I see what channeling is, my personal story, how I got into experiencing it, and then going to learn it. And yeah, let's start. So, channeling is how I'm going to, channeling my way, okay? It's being done by meditation. So I have this way that I keep repeating, and this is how I taught to do it. Today takes me, less than a few moments, and I'm already in this connection, quiet, and I can ask whatever is the highest message for me today, or I can ask specific questions that are relevant to my life or to my career or to whatever is bothering my mind at that point. And I can almost hear, but it's not a sound, it's more like a thought. The thoughts are coming from the back of my mind, and I can just start writing and writing and writing. So if I have a pen, I'll just write with my hands, and if I'm in front of the computer, I can just type. I never try to actually talk at the same time that I'm receiving it, but most channeling that you could hear and see online, people are just receiving it, and at the same time they're like talking it. So this is the basic description of channeling and how it's being done. What am I connecting to, or where do I get these messages? This is where you can get many, many, many answers. So again, this is only my perspective based on my 14 years of experience. In the old days, channeling was mainly being done to connect with people who died. Like if you have like a grandma that you dearly loved and you want to connect and get some messages from her, this would be the old world channeling. Okay, I never did this. I was not even interested in talking with dead people. First of all, I don't think I had, when I started, I didn't have anyone close to me who died, who passed. So I just didn't have anyone to talk to. But it wasn't the reason. The reason was that if it was a person who lived like us and passed, they had the same fears, worries, limitation, and any message that you receive from this source would be pretty much limited. And this is not the point. I have my own limitation. I don't need, more limiting beliefs or fears or any other sorts of this. It's just not pure, clean energy. So the purpose of the channeling that I'm doing is to receive something higher, like from a higher being or higher source or higher energy. And sometimes I ask who I get the messages from, and I throughout the years I've been talking to angels and other enlightened beings and names that I've never heard of. Some people are channeling aliens, what I learned, again, it's based on my experience, is that I do not really care what's the title of the entity that's bringing the message to me. What I do care, and this is like the first and most important part of channeling, is the quality and the cleanliness and the level of energy. And what I mean by this is the messages that I'm receiving is always, but really always, I never had any other experience. It's always filled with endless love and compassion and softness and caring and I can sit in meditation and I have like tears dropping from my eyes, and I'm not crying, I'm not sad, I'm just filled with such an enormous love while getting all these messages that you cannot doubt, the purpose or the essence of where this message is coming from. And this is what I want to convey to you. Maybe you had some experience in the past, or maybe you're interested in learning. And I think that I'm going to probably dedicate a whole course on just the ABC of channeling. So you could do it on your own at your home without someone else delivering the message or being the vessel to deliver the message for you. I can tell you a few more things about it. It's been done. It's in the Bible, so it's not something that someone invented. It was done for thousands of years. Anyone can do it. Okay, I'm not special. I'm special, but you're special too. What I mean by this is I just learned a technique. I was interested in it, and I learned a technique, and I practiced it, and I do it. Other people maybe never, had the kind of like the drive to even learn about it or try it. Some people maybe are more talented in doing it. I actually don't really believe in it, but maybe some people have more, maybe they practice it in past lives. So they're more familiar with it. It just comes more naturally. I can tell you that when I studied and I took my first course in channeling, we're like 6 people. And I immediately started writing stuff. Like I put the pen and things started coming as kind of like thoughts, but I knew it's not my thoughts, because sometimes I would write and I could not even read what I wrote because I did it with eyes closed. So when 2 days later I came and tried to read what I wrote, if it was my thought, I would probably recognize it easily and can, understand what I wrote there. Sometimes I could not understand what the words, were. So this is why I know specifically that it's not, my thought process, but it's just allowing something higher to flow through me to the page. Other people, I had one friend, and she would channel in songs. Like she was a writer, and her channeling came like almost like poems. It was beautiful. And another lady, she was more like the visual person, and she had like almost like pictures drawn. So each and every one of us has their own talents. I see things. My visual perception is really strong, so I can see and visual things happening when I'm in meditation, and I can hear this voice. I'm telling a voice, but it's not a voice. It's more like, again, thoughts that are coming, like a thread of thoughts, and I can just put it in writing. Some people can feel. My mother, she's very like, she's on the sensitive side. So she can really feel things in her own body, or things that's happening in another person's body. So these are all the clairvoyance, the clair specialty powers. And again, I'm pretty sure each and every one of us has it within us. It's just that we need to remember, we need to awaken them. And channeling is just one of these qualities that everyone has. Not everyone is using it, definitely. And I think it's time to just use this superpower that's just dormant within us. I want to share the story how I got into this, because it's not, I wasn't a child that saw spirits or had like all these vision. No, nothing at all. I was just a normal, regular child, playing, being with friends, loved school. I always studied. I didn't come from a family that someone was very spiritual in my family. Nothing similar. I lived my life as a very regular person until I think I was around 30. And something happened there very dramatically that almost changed, yeah, definitely changed my life, but it wasn't the first time. It was kind of like maybe the third things that happened that really, really influenced and changed my life. And it was that my parents, it wasn't my real father, it was my stepfather and my mom decided to divorce after 30 years of being together. I was already a mother for two kids. I didn't have my third yet. And this was like a devastating event in my life. And it started leading to a big search. And I talked about it in the introduction a little bit. The search started outside. But after a while, seeing a psychologist and doing all kinds of stuff, I just felt that I'm stuck and I'm not getting the answers that I'm looking. And then the search started to, become more and more deeper inwardly. I had my yoga studies, I deepened that, and I started just coming back home to myself. And there, all the answers were laid for me, but it took time to reveal them. So I think at one point, we lived in New York when my parents decided to divorce. And after a year, we moved back to Israel. And I was trying to change my life and open a yoga studio after I studied in the US how to become a yoga teacher. And I had three kids already, wonderful, amazing family, beautiful house in Israel, my beloved husband. Everything seemed so good and amazing, yet something was still missing. Something still was like, it's hard even to describe it in words. And I felt stuck with my yoga studio. Like, how do I start, attracting people? I had just a few people. I spent all this money, building and opening the studio, and it was stuck. It wasn't going anywhere. So during 1 month specifically, I heard a name of a person from two different people in my life. I was working privately with a client, teaching her yoga, and she was a very, very wealthy woman. And she mentioned that she's going to consult, she and her husband are going to consult with this very famous channeler. And then at the same time, I think a week apart, I heard the name again, the same name of this lady. So I said, if I hear this person's name twice, there's a reason. I have no clue what channeling is. I was even a little bit nervous or, frightened, no, but nervous. And I decided to give her a call, schedule an appointment, and come. And I did. I paid a lot of money in advance. I scheduled, I think it was like a month ahead because she was so busy. She was very famous and many people looked for her advice. And I remember arriving on just a regular afternoon day in Ramat Gan, which is a city next to Tel Aviv, a small, kind of like a shop. I had no clue what am I entering into. And I opened the door and this tiny little beautiful lady was sitting. She was like probably in her 40s. I was like 30 something, just a few years older than me. Really tiny with like black hair, but beautiful face. She was sitting behind a desk and next to her was like one of her assistants, and she, welcomed me. And then in the next 2 hours, I was sitting at the desk. She started by asking if I had a specific question or request. And at the time, like I told you, everything seemed pretty amazing in my life. So I didn't have I wasn't looking for a relationship. I didn't have any problems with my kids. It was just a little bit about, the business and how to make it work. But I didn't come with a specific question or specific problem in my life. And I told her that, and that I just come to, hear what she has to say to me. And then again, for the next 2 hours, this was a life-changing experience. I was sitting there in front of her. She was talking, and I was just crying. And I'm becoming emotional even now because I can instantly be back in this room with her. And why I was crying? Because she was basically talking to me about all the things that only me and myself knew. Like it was the most personal, deep messages, as if I was talking to myself. No one knew about these things that's going in my mind. No one. And I remember one thing specifically that she was referring to, and I think this was really what really made the change. And I knew that by the time I'm leaving this tiny room, I'm starting like a new episode of my life, or like I'm a new person. It won't be the same anymore. And the message was that I'll try to remember exactly how she phrased it. She said it was pretty harsh. It wasn't lovey-dovey or soft. It was very like, it's time for an action, for a change. And if you won't do it now, it may be too late. And I was, because of my parents' divorce, I was dwelling on the past all the time. And she said that if I'm the roots of the tree and my husband is the trunk and my kids are the branches, I am myself killing my own tree, the tree of life, my family, because I'm, instead of like dedicating, putting energy on the present moment, on this beautiful, amazing tree that I raised, that's coming from my roots, I'm dwelling all the time in the past. So by putting my energies in the past, I do not allow any energy to the present moment. Yet, of course, at the same time, of course, there won't be a future. And I think I'm saying it even softer than what it sounded when she told me that. This was in Hebrew. This is my language. And it was very strong. And at that point, I just knew that I have to stop shoveling, and dwelling and trying to understand the past and what happened and why it happened, and start living in the present moment and putting all the energy here. Because whenever I'm not here, whenever I'm out there in the past or even in the future, I'm not here. And I'm just losing whatever is right here in front of me, around me, in me. So this was my experience this was the first channeling experience that I had in my life. I was thankful. I was crying, weeping like a baby. I was also so emotional at that point. And they wrote all the messages, everything she was talking, the assistant wrote for me. And I remember that some of the messages I did not even understood back then. And she kept saying that, just come back, read it, and things will, clear in the future. And I was working with this, I had 10 pages of messaging, and I was working with it for a while. This, of course, started a whole new chapter in my life that led also for me to go and learn channeling myself and using it as a tool for myself, for how I, raise my kids, for how I communicate with my husband, my other relationship, and my business as well. Of course, my yoga business started thriving and developing, and literally changed my life. The interesting point about this message is, I think a few years later, I wanted to go back and read it. It's been a while. I wasn't using it. I already was channeling for myself and got so many messages. And And I decided that I want to look at it again. And I could never find it. Never, ever. I remember looking everywhere. It's as if the universe has just like, it just disappeared. And what I think today is it served what I needed and it wasn't necessary anymore. I was like on a different path and it served what it had to do and it was gone. So that's my own story about channeling. I think we'll tap throughout the lessons or towards the end, we'll tap into some like a similar meditation that will open up this ability for you. And let's see what it will bring. In the meantime, take care of yourself and always come back to your present moment. I love you. See you in the next lesson.